London Irish go down to Leicester 13 points to 7. I think it's the first time I've ever seen a full London Irish game. They couldn't quite get it done. It was a battle of two of the teams towards the bottom of the Premiership. Was it worth getting up for a 5 o'clock in the morning game here in New Zealand? Maybe not. But it was a close game, if nothing else. I feel like Leicester are probably ruining quite a few missed chances. And Irish will have felt maybe they could have snuck it at the end. But not quite to be. I'll go through some of the key points of the game, some of my takeaways from it, and the stats. And as always, you guys can let me know your thoughts as well. So as I said, kind of two teams towards the bottom end of the table. I thought maybe there would be a few more points scored, but it was actually defense that was the order of the day. Neither side's attack really seemed to click. Maybe that is due to the league position. You know, both these sides haven't been doing that well. From what some of you guys have told me, London Irish have got a few injuries, and to be fair, I know they've had a few big name signings, none of which really seem to be in the lineups today. Nadolo was the biggest debutant on debut for Leicester today, so I was keen to see how he went, and he did all right. But it was the other winger who got the try in David Williams. But yeah, it started off with a potential opportunity for Leicester in the corner, but they ended up in touch, and Leicester getting opportunities to score a try and not being able to convert them seems to be very much a troubling aspect of this game. I guess it's nice to create those chances, but if you don't convert them, you leave yourself in a position where the opposition can potentially sneak in at the end. They kicked a penalty on 7 minutes to make it 3-0. Wells went off with an HIA, which he failed on 9 minutes, which is disappointing. You never like a guy to go off for that reason, especially that early in the game, but what can you do? There were a lot of scrums. They were flinging the ball around, but there were like a lot of turnovers, intercepts, just loose carries. So, yeah, it wasn't really clicking in terms of the actual action. Tom Youngs looked to have scored the first try on 21 minutes for Leicester from 5 metres out, but they said no, he was held up. It looked like there was a boot under the ball, so a good review by the TMO. However, on 24 minutes, they did manage to get it done. It was from a scrum, and it was messy. Like, Young's out the back of the scrum, barely got the ball away as he was kind of hounded, and there was like a Nadolo pass quickly. It was kind of loose, but they still managed to find enough space for David Williams out on the right wing, so try on debut for him. Yeah, congratulations. It's a good way to make your mark on the game early. They converted it to make it 10-0, and they're looking pretty comfortable. London Irish haven't really been threatening Leicester's defence up until that point. They did have their best chances, Irish, in the like the last 10 minutes of that first half. They had they won a penalty. They decided to opt for a line out, so they had like a line out 8 metres out. Nothing came of it. Then another line out like on the 22 of Leicester, but nothing came of it. And yeah, they couldn't quite get anything done. All their moves were failing, and their attack was kind of blunted. By halftime, you're looking at the stats. Like, London Irish got plenty of ball, 65% possession, 59% territory, but Leicester are kicking it back to them. Like, kicks from hand is 19-11, with Leicester having more. Both sides tackling at 90%, which is really impressive, but with the loose passes and whatnot, it's kind of not that unexpected that they're not able to create opportunities to really beat defenders. So 75 tackles made by Leicester, 45 by Irish. And I was thinking, like, with the lineups compared to the games that these teams have played on the weekend, I thought last 20 minutes are going to be tough for London Irish if they're, got tired legs from a less fresh side. Like, Leicester should have the fresher team towards the end of the game, but the fact that Leicester are having to make more tackles maybe kind of cancels that out, because that is harder work. Knock-ons 4-1 with Leicester making 4. Penalties conceded 5-2 with London Irish making more. So again, both sides are having their issues. Second half, Leicester get held up early. They win a penalty though, and they kick it to make it 13 points to 0. But that's another chance that you would have rather be 5 or 7, but it ends up being 3. 50 minutes, Nadolo looks to get his try on debut as well, but it's called back. That one the TMO finds like a knock on. It seems to go forward in the build up to it. So that's an unfortunate one for him, because he had hit the ball at proper pace and looked to go over, but not chalked off. Leicester get yellow carded. on 55 minutes. London Irish actually had a really good opportunity close to Leicester's line. They're taking a quick tap, and I think he tackled a guy without retreating back. So, yeah, prevented a try-scoring opportunity. So, yellow card for him. This is really a chance you're thinking, man, if London Irish can't score here with an extra man like 5 metres out from the Leicester's line, then there's no hope for them to get any points in this game. And they were loose in the build-up. Like at one point, it looked like they were about to go into touch, but they managed to get it back out. Eventually, they get held up from a scrum, but they get another crack at it, and they try a cross kick, which is a bit of a shocker from Paddy Jackson. Nothing's quite firing, but they get another crack at it, and eventually Ben Meehan gets a try. It's like a metre out after a bunch of phases. He just dots the ball down. TMO takes a look, says it's all good, so that's Leicester conceding their first points. Yellow card period 7-0, score is 13-7. That's the way it's going to finish, but there's still a bit of time for them to go down. Leicester have one more try chalked off, which I think makes at least like the third try chalked off before full time, so 67 minutes. They said that there was an obstruction from an offside player, so he wouldn't have made a difference, but the fact that he was offside is what he gets penalised for. And the rest of the game kind of peters out. There's one more chance for Irish as they're just starting to get the ball down Leicester's end with about 4 minutes to go, but they get turned over way too many times in this game. They get turned over at the breakdown, not looking after the pill. And Leicester are just able to recycle the ball and run the clock down at the end. So it finishes tight. If London Irish had gone through a few more phases, it would have made for a grandstanding finish, but not to be. In the end, Leicester get it done 13 points to 7. They will really, really be disappointed with all those chances they couldn't quite take. Irish be disappointed they couldn't quite pinch it at the end. Final stats, like I mentioned, Irish had more ball, 62% possession, 63% territory. Leicester still kicked more, 31 kicks to 21. They knocked the ball on more, Leicester 5-2, but they didn't concede as many penalties. Irish had 10 to Leicester 7. You'd have to say Leicester's scrum was really getting on top for the majority of the game. It was a bit of an issue for London Irish. Both sides' lineouts, they were pretty okay. There were a few loose ones, but the overall completion rate for the lineouts was pretty high. Run meters 220 to 293 with Irish having more. But as I said, they kicked it less. They were trying to offload. They had 21 offloads to Leicester's 8. Both sides tackling percentages in the 90s, 93 for Leicester, 92 for Irish. But if both attacks are not really firing, it does make it easier for the defences to keep up those high tackling rates. But Leicester made 154, Irish 118, so they had to do a bit of defensive work, did Leicester. Individuals, Nemanja Nadolo on debut, 6 runs for 50 run meters is a solid return. Beat 2 defenders. Liebenberg, though, was defensively on song. 17 out of 18 tackles for him. Curtis Rona was the biggest threat for Irish with 57 run meters, 2 defenders beaten and a clean break. But someone said in the live stream both of these sides are pretty fortunate that Sarries are getting relegated because neither of them look to fire, and that's probably fair. But it's still only the third game back. It was a midweek game, so maybe it's a bit hard to judge them too strictly. I do think Leicester probably could have had more points in this one, but let too many points slip. And it was good to see London Irish competing right to the end to try and nick it, but couldn't quite get it done. You guys let me know your thoughts on the game. The Bath and Northampton game is on at the minute, so I'll see if I can watch that as I start the old day job now that it's 7:20 in the morning here in New Zealand. But as I said, it was an interesting one. If not a classic, it was still a decent watch for me because it was a tight game in the end. But you guys let me know your thoughts, and I'll talk to you again soon. See you later.